here every time and just feel sick. To look at it is just awful.
Several people have told Fox 26 News a Valley landscaping company isn't guilty of just a couple mistakes, but rather hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. The man who owns that company, Joshua David Mitchell, is a former Sanger mayor who resigned and faced fines for conflicts of interest. Fox 26 reporter Marie Edinger has spent weeks digging into JDM landscaping. Here is her report.
I've spoken with 4 people in total who told me they had awful experiences with JDM landscaping. We know there are many more out there.
Every day I walk out here and I'm just sick. I think my poor parents must be thinking, what did I do to you? What did you do to my house? It breaks my heart because I loved this place.
Lisa Wicks hired Joshua David Mitchell to renovate her childhood home in 2019 after seeing recommendations online. She says the experience was traumatic.
I beat myself up about it for the last 2.5 years, knowing that I had done this destruction to my childhood home and disrespected my parents.
Wicks says JDM built a driveway she didn't ask for as a, quote, present. It was built at a slant and flooded her garage.
Antique furniture that has been in the house since 1958 that we hope to salvage and do, and it's destroyed.
There's also this $38,000 fence that shakes violently and has nails and screws still sticking out. It was supposed to be made of white oak, but a specialist told Lisa it's fir. Records show JDM charged for 24 glass panes, but only installed 5. There are planters built in such a way that an arborist told Wicks will be deadly to the trees. Flower pots glued to the cement using grout, another, quote, gift. Then there's a stairway JDM tried 3 times to build, then gave up.
This was supposed to be ADA compliant. It wasn't, obviously.
Wicks commissioned a forensic construction defect investigation. The report is 79 pages long. Issues range from significant visual defect to improper and non-professional. The word unsafe is in there 16 times. The report says some things were done without a permit.
We did the forensics report because he was trying to charge us more than the contract and was coming back with all these change orders that we had never agreed to and signed, and was wanting money for it.
She has documentation of those change orders she never signed. One of them was for a fire pit she says she told Mitchell she didn't want.
We left on vacation, and he built this hole.
And then there's something that's more emotionally damaging than financial. Wicks says she found her deceased mother's pajamas and underwear wrapped inside a pond filter to keep it quiet.
What did you think when you saw that? What was your reaction?
I was mortified that he would go into our personal things and take out something to do that. Moreover, that he completely said, well, you gave me permission. I would have never given permission to do that. It just breaks my heart that it was just another way of being violated. The pond people that came out said, oh, we fixed a couple of his ponds.
In the end, JDM charged just under $300,000. It'll cost Wicks another $130,000 to rip it out and another $200,000 or so to redo with another company. Her lawyer says it would cost $150,000 to pursue JDM in court.
I just don't have the money to do it. I mean, it's just impossible for me to finance that. Plus another $150,000 to go after him without the idea that we'd ever collect anything.
Vache Mukhtarian is suing JDM Landscaping.
Now we're having to piece pieces together to make our backyard livable and safe.
He's having to redo about a third of his pavers. He says a pizza oven JDM built collapsed after a year. A concrete counter collapsed as well.
And unfortunately, the only thing that was holding that foam together was nails like this that were barely going in, maybe. So there was no structural support again on it. So half of it collapsed, and I had to take down the other half because I do have young kids.
Mukhtarian started posting online, and people started reaching out, saying they'd gone through similar problems. A family in Reedley tells me it paid double to hire another contractor to tear out a pavilion JDM built. Kim Smaldino had water building up over concrete slabs JDM poured. She says Mitchell told her he'd level it out, but she says that leveler turned out to be paint that later chipped. When cracks started forming in her flower bed, she says Mitchell told her it was the Santa Barbara look. Mukhtarian says Mitchell told him the exact same thing when he complained about his cracks. Even more concerning?
When it rained, we had a lot of the lower areas of our pavers flood because the drainage you put down wasn't going anywhere. They were fake drains that were on there, and all the water was going towards that drain.
Sorry, what do you mean fake drains?
He had one here and one drain here, but the drain was just a pipe in the ground with a lid on it. So it really, when the water came over here, it wasn't really going anywhere.
The state contractors licensing board says it isn't able to confirm how many complaints were made about JDM landscaping, but citations based on those complaints are public record. I pulled those citations. They show some of the exact same things people talked with Fox 26 News about: doing work without permits, exceeding contract amounts, improper change orders.
What did he say when you told him, hey, this collapsed, or hey, this isn't level?
Nothing.
And the other thing that's crazy is, he has this long list of everything that he's done wrong, and he still has an active license.
The CSLB told me there is a process for license revocation and suspension, which is done after a thorough investigation, and then an accusation is filed by the Attorney General's office. This is sought for the most egregious cases and usually involves multiple serious acts.
So how do you protect someone else from being hurt?
I first reached out to Joshua Mitchell on February 21st. He sent me over to his lawyer. On Thursday, February 24th, his lawyer suggested we do the interview that following Tuesday, but then Mitchell never confirmed the interview time. I said we could interview Wednesday or today, but never heard back from them. In Fresno, Marie Edinger, Fox 26 News.
Vachi Mokhtarian and another family split JDM's $15,000 bond, but that amounts to less than 4% of what Mokhtarian says he paid. On our website, you can learn more about the complaint process with the contractor's licensing board, and you can learn how to file one yourself.
A solar-powered nightmare. Two families are accusing the CEO of Ecobrite Solar of defrauding them, taking thousands of dollars and leaving them with a mess.
Fox 26 reporter Marie Edinger has been investigating this story for days now. She's outside what was Ecobrite's office, and Marie, it isn't there anymore, is it?
Nope, that's exactly right, Monty and Liz. There were two different addresses listed on Ecobrite's website. One was just down the way. One was right here. I called the property management company for this area to try to find out when exactly they left. Haven't heard back yet, but the people who are now in these neighboring buildings told me that they moved in about November, and that the office space that they moved into used to be Ecobrite Solar and was vacant before they moved in. So we know they've been gone since at least November, and we know that company was still doing work after they'd already vacated their office space.
Sorry.
Jessica Tovar and Raquel and Tammy Arredondo say they're family friends with Alex A.J. Rodriguez, the CEO of Ecobrite Solar. They hired him last April to install a new solar power system at their daycare, Creative Kids. Then they blasted the air conditioner all summer long.
Not being educated on how to read the PG&E statements, we didn't know that we were producing absolutely nothing.
They got their true-up bill. It was almost $6,000, 3 times what they were used to paying. They said, coincidentally, that was around the same time Rodriguez stopped answering their calls, texts, and office visits.
There was just no communication, and when there was, which was few and far between, it was just empty promises. Oh, I'll be there next week. Oh, I'm on vacation, I'll send someone out. And no one ever came out.
In October, they had another company come out to inspect Ecobrite's work. Energy Concepts Inspection found the panels Rodriguez installed were not the ones agreed upon in their contract and were basically the same as the old ones they'd had. Moreover, the inverter is used and not functioning at all. It was supposed to have been returned to a different company, but was instead installed on this home. The city of Kerman told me no permit was ever pulled for a solar project at that house, but Rodriguez told Arredondo the city of Kerman had approved his plans.
Hello, my name is Marie Edinger. I'm a reporter with Fox 26 News.
Rodriguez and Ecobrite haven't answered my calls, texts, emails, or Facebook messages over the past couple days, but 12 minutes after my last call today, he texted this family back. "When are you available to talk? I need to take care of your project. Let me know when you're free, please." Their previous 8 text messages had gone unanswered from him. It turns out Ecobrite Solar Incorporated's license had been suspended since February 7th of this year.
I'm blown away by the amount of fraud that a person can get away with in this field.
The company's accreditation with the Better Business Bureau was also revoked in June of last year. That was a month before Carmen Guzman signed a contract with them. Guzman is Rodriguez's cousin.
I know there's other people out there that he has done this to.
She says they came out a few times that October and November, but then disappeared and didn't come close to finishing the project.
I just didn't imagine he would do that. So every time he was telling me dates and stuff, I was like, okay, I know he'll come do it. I know he'll come do it. And then it just got to a point where I was like, he isn't going to come do it. He really just took my money.
Tovar paid $15,000 up front. Guzman paid $19,000. But California state law says contractors cannot ask for a deposit of more than 10% of the total cost of the job or $1,000, whichever is less.
Every dollar around here is hard to come by. And so we just want people to be aware of what's going on and to be very mindful.
What made you want to share your story? Because I mean, talking with the news is a big deal and it's hard being on TV and everything. What made you be able to overcome that and talk with us today?
I just don't want him to continue doing this to other people and think it's okay, because it's not okay.
There is just the slightest bit of good news here. Those families that you just heard from are both filing against his bond, against Rodriguez's bond, and they should hopefully be able to get at least some of their money back. But more than that, the CSLB does have a new $5 million grant program that gives money to people like this who have been having trouble with their solar systems, and they can file. We've got information about that on our website. We do know that both of these families have already now filled out those filing complaints to try to get some of their money. Monty and Liz.
What an unfortunate mess, Marie. All right, if you'd like more details on that grant program, just go to kmph.com for more information. We also have a link for how you can apply.
I paid him $3,000 for him to do nothing.
2 women have now filed complaints with the California State Bar against a family lawyer in Fresno. A 3rd woman is working to do the same. Fox 26 reporter Marie Edinger spoke with these clients of attorney James Miller to find out why this is happening and what happens next in a story you're seeing only on Fox 26 News.
As I was talking with 3 women today who'd all hired the same attorney, at first they were having trouble vocalizing what they were thinking and feeling. In the end, they told me they feel like they've been scammed. All 3 women I spoke with had extremely similar stories.
Not returning phone calls, not returning text messages, not appearing in court a couple of times, just kind of getting the runaround.
Nicole Garcia hired James Miller to help her get visitation rights for her grandson.
It's totally stressed me out. I am so stressed out. And then you can't get back time, that big gap that I haven't seen my grandson till now. He's taken all that from me.
Carrie Welch hired him to get her ex-husband to pay child support. The 3 women all say they hired James Miller and paid thousands in upfront flat fees, only to have him ignore their calls and texts, fail to file things with the court, and miss court dates entirely. Those stories match reviews online dating back the past few years.
From July of 2019 to January of 2020, he did nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Miller refunded most of Welch's money, but stopped making payments a bit ago. Miller declined to interview for this story, but his assistant, Rina Villanueva, sent me a statement. In it, she says Miller has been in and out of the hospital for the past few months, dealing with a vast number of medical issues, including cancer and moderate to extreme dementia. Garcia and Welch both told me if they knew about his medical problems, they would have found a new lawyer right away. And they brought up their issues with him date back years, not months.
Here is someone that I hired and paid a lot of money to represent me, to fight for me in court, and he's not there.
They also didn't know about a previous criminal conviction for rape by force and said they wouldn't have hired him if they were aware of it before. The California State Bar couldn't comment on this situation specifically, but pointed me to some professional conduct rules that, if violated, result in disciplinary action. One of those deals with communication standards, another with diligence. A lawyer shall not intentionally, repeatedly, recklessly, or with gross negligence fail to act with reasonable diligence in representing a client.
Nobody deserves this. We work hard for our money, and for someone to just take thousands of dollars from you and not do anything, no.
A couple of the women I talked with today said they're already in the process of looking for a new attorney. In downtown Fresno, Marie Edinger, Fox 26 News.
Now, the State Bar says its investigations are confidential, but if it does decide to file disciplinary charges, that will be public and posted on the attorney's profile on the State Bar website.
We have regulation for teachers. They have to get their credentials. We have regulations for nurses. Why do we not have regulations for athletic trainers in California?
California is the only state in the entire country that does not require athletic trainers to be licensed or certified. Those medical professionals help identify, diagnose, and treat injuries in student athletes. We brought you a Spotlight on America report just last week detailing the shocking lack of athletic trainers at high schools nationwide.
That's right. Fox 26 News reporter Marie Edinger investigates why the Golden State.
Under current California law, I could be hired right now as an athletic trainer, even though I have no training in that field, no medical expertise. That is clearly not a situation you want for your kids, but it is happening right here in the Central Valley.
A peer-reviewed study shows 7% of California high schools, or 1 in 14, have someone working as an athletic trainer who isn't certified.
The risks are high because it's interesting because in California you can be licensed to get your nails done, licensed to get a haircut, but we're not licensing or protecting this profession that, a lot of our youth are depending on.
Susie Gatas is the head athletic trainer at McLean High School. She is certified, as are all of the full-time athletic trainers employed by the Fresno Unified School District.
When we did our research a few years ago and we created this position, that was one thing that we wanted to make sure and have is we wanted to have all of our athletic trainers certified through their professional organization.
Certification means graduating with at least a bachelor's degree, often also a master's, from an accredited professional athletic training program, going through an athletic training grad program, and passing a test with the Board of Certification. Without that,
they don't have the skills and the knowledge and expertise to protect the health and safety of that student athlete. So that could be in your school, in your community.
The National Athletic Trainers Association, or NATA, says it's been trying to pass licensure laws in California for decades. The lack of licensing isn't only letting undertrained people into the system, it's keeping trained people from being able to do their jobs fully. Gatas was licensed as an athletic trainer in Texas, but in California, no such thing exists.
I was able to actually diagnose concussions because I was a licensed healthcare provider. The law here is that if we have a concussion on the sideline, I remove them, and I've been trained in concussions. I would say I have high training in concussions, but I cannot diagnose because I am not a licensed athletic trainer.
In August of this year, the University of Connecticut's Corey Stringer Institute ranked California dead last in its efforts to keep student athletes safe. The California ATA says the Golden State averages 8.7 catastrophic injuries and 3.2 deaths for athletes each year.
If you have someone who's not trained as an athletic trainer providing care, you will have misdiagnoses. You might have a situation where that person thinks that there's nothing wrong with that person, and then they return them to play, and more harm and more injury has occurred.
NATA is working right now to get 2 bills passed in California. AB 1592 would require licensure for athletic trainers, and a Practice Act would require an athletic trainer at every practice.
I would challenge parents to ask their elected officials why they're not prioritizing the health and safety of those student athletes.
Until then,
we are kind of playing a little bit of Russian roulette here and just hoping for the best.
Just as a disclosure, I do have a personal connection with this story. In high school, I tore my labrum weightlifting, and were it not for the fantastic athletic trainers at my high school, I wouldn't have had immediate access to physical therapy or even know what had happened. So I am enormously grateful to those athletic trainers and to my school for having that resource available. If they hadn't been, my injury could have lasted much longer. My arm might not be the same as it is today. In Fresno, Marie Edinger, Fox 26 News.
The California Youth Football Act already passed, and it requires a licensed medical professional to be present at youth football games. But NATA says we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, nearly half of California high schools don't have an athletic trainer at all. That's compared to 31% nationwide. Fresno Unified has a full-time certified athletic trainer at each of its 7 high schools, but says it's still stretched thin and hoping to hire assistants soon.